Hi guys, maayong adlaw. Welcome to Natsmat TV. For today's video, my presentation is about plotting the graph of linear equations by using the x and y intercept. As you can see, a linear equation is in the form ax plus by equals c. So if we are going to plot the graph of ax plus by equals c, we have different methods. So one of the methods is by using the x and y intercept. So in this video, I will be teaching you how to plot the graph of linear equations by using the x and y intercept. So let's proceed directly to our examples. For example, you are told to plot the graph of this equation, 2x minus y equals 4. So by using the x and y intercept, we need to define first, or we need to understand first, what are x and y intercept. When we say x and y intercept, or when we say x-intercept, it is the point where your graph will cross the x-axis. In the same way as with the y-intercept, it is the point where your graph will cross the y-axis. And we also need to remember that in order for us to plot the graph of a linear equations in two variables, we only need at least 2 points in order to plot the graph. So that's why we need 1 point for x-intercept, another 1 point for y-intercept. So how do we plot the graph of 2x minus y equals 4? By using the x and y-intercept. So first things first is we need to solve for the x-intercept. When we solve for the x-intercept, we have to set the value of our y to 0. So we are going to solve for x-intercept, we set the value of y to 0. So using the equation 2x minus y equals 4, so we will substitute our value for y, which is 0, to the equation. So that would give us 2x minus 0 equals 4. So instead of writing y here, we change that with the value of our y, which is 0. So since this is 0, so this becomes 2x equals 4 because we can cancel out the 0. So the equation becomes 2x equals 4. Then afterwards, we solve for x. We divide both sides of the equation by 2. You have 2x over 2 equals 4 over 2. In this case, we can cancel out the coefficient of x, which is 2. So what remains in this side of the equation shall be x. And when we divide 4 by 2, that gives us 2. So therefore, if our y is 0, our x is equal to 2. So what is now our ordered pair? Because we will be needing the ordered pair for us to plot the graph in the Cartesian plane. In this case, since we have our y is 0 and our x is 2, so our ordered pair therefore will be 2 and 0 because the ordered pair consists of x coordinate and the y coordinate. So the x here, this is x, so our x is 2, that's why we have here the 2, and this is y, which is 0, that is xy. So this is 2 and 0. So this is now the first point we need to plot the graph of this equation. As you can see, that is 2, 0. This point is located at the x-axis. This is now what we call the x-intercept. This point here, this is the x-intercept. Let's proceed to the y-intercept. In order for us to solve for the y-intercept, we do the reverse here. Since we have to solve for the y-intercept, our x is 0. So when we solve for the y-intercept, we set the value of x to 0, the reverse of x-intercept. So if x is 0, we need to solve for y. We use the same equation, that is 2x minus y equals 4. We substitute the value of our x, so this is 2x. So instead of writing x here, we will have 2 times 0. Then we copy minus y equals 4. Then 2 times 0 is 0, of course, so we can cancel this out. So what remains at the left side of the equation shall be negative y, then we copy equals 4. Then we have to remember that the variable should always be positive. And since this is negative, it's either we divide both sides of the equation by negative 1 or we multiply both sides of the equation by negative 1, either of the two. So here, if we are going to divide this one by negative 1, and at the right side, divide this one by negative 1, so that becomes negative y divided by negative 1 is, of course, positive y, equals positive 4 divided by negative 1 is negative 4. So therefore, if x is 0, our y is equal to negative 4. So, y is equal to negative 4, and since our x is 0, so our ordered pair shall be 0, which is the x, and our y is negative 4. So this point now is what we call the y-intercept. So this time, we already have the x-intercept and the y-intercept. Our x-intercept is 2, 0, and our y-intercept is 0, negative 4. So we need to plot these points now in the Cartesian plane. For example, this is our Cartesian plane. So we plot these points in the Cartesian plane. We look for these points, 2, 0. So assigning 2, 0. So we have, this is our x-axis. So this is our 2 and 0 here. So this is now the point for x-intercept 2 and 0. And another one is the y-intercept, which is 0 and negative 4. When we locate for negative 4 in the y-axis, so we have here our negative 4, and this is our x, which is 0, negative 4. So this is our point. So we already have these 2 points. Afterwards, we connect these points. Then, therefore, we will have this line. So this line now is the graph of the linear equation 2x minus y equals 4. Okay, so let's proceed to the next example. How about if we are to plot the graph of this equation x plus 3y equals negative 6. First things first is we find first for the x-intercept. So, if we are going to solve for x-intercept, always set the value of y to 0. So we solve for x. So therefore, we substitute the value of y to the equation. So we copy x plus, we copy the 3, then instead of writing y, we change that with 0, then equals negative 6. 3 times 0 is 0, or we can cancel this out. So what remains at the left side of the equation is the x. Of course, that is equal to negative 6. So x is equal to negative 6, and our y is 0. Our ordered pair shall be negative 6 and 0. Now, let's proceed to solving for the y-intercept. So, y-intercept, we set the value of x, of course, to 0. Then our y is unknown. Using the equation, we substitute our x is 0. We copy plus 3y equals negative 6. So, we cancel out. What remains here is 3y equals negative 6. Now, to solve for y, we divide both sides of the equation by 3. Then we cancel out the 3. So what remains here is the y equals negative 6 divided by 3 is negative 2. So therefore, our ordered pair will be 0 for x and negative 2 for y. Now, this is our x-intercept and this is our y-intercept. We look for this ordered pair in the Cartesian plane. This is our x-axis. This is our negative 6, and this is y for 0. So this is our first point for the x-intercept. Another one is 0 and negative 2, which is for the y-intercept. So our x is 0 and our y is negative 2. So here is the point. So when we connect these 2 points, we can have this line. Okay, so this line is the graph of the equation x plus 3y equals negative 6. Okay, I hope you have learned something from this video. So thank you and God bless.